This is why you don't neglect your chores.
Yeah, why is everything like overgrown and rubble? And what's this? This stone door is sealed shut. A few engraved symbols stand out among the other carvings and inscriptions. Apart from that, you find no evident means of opening the way. A faded inscription is nestled among the elaborate stone carvings. Let's read that real quick. Juana runes decorate the stone entrance. Ngati would not have gifted her chosen people a watery covenant unless they persisted in deserving it. Okay. This sanctum is a covenant of our making. Only the sigil of the covenant and the words of my devotion will open the way. Periki, Master of the Guild. Okay, the sigil. That shouldn't be too hard to find. Alright. Just a warrior and an archer? Isn't too bad right now.
Let's do this. Sure.
Okay. Got a few more. Just the single warrior?
After him.
Okay.
I am the alpha predator.
Looks like Myru got cut down.
Would you look at this?
There's a trap there. The guildmaster lifts her gaze to meet yours, her eyes struggling to focus. She's been slashed and stabbed numerous times, and her robes are soaked red with blood.
Myru! Oh, gods, but look what they've done to you!
Tekehu covers his mouth with both hands as he surveys her injuries.
Peace, Tekehu. I gave back 10 times what I took.
Why are you all by yourself?
Too many, even for me.
She sputters on a mouthful of blood, but still manages a red-rimmed smile. Onikaza sent me to find you, but I think you need a healer first.
No time for that, I say.
She waves you off, grimacing.
You're too stubborn to die, old shark.
His voice wavers as a fresh gout of blood seeps between Myru's fingers.
For once, Tekehu, just listen.
She raises a steady hand to cover his trembling one.
The rod of the deep. Ugh, I've lost it. Taken. You'll need to...
Myru coughs, spitting up blood. For every word she struggles to voice, her breath gets progressively shallower.
Find the rod. Get through the stone door by the entrance.
Need to stop exerting yourself or you'll bleed out.
Oh, don't you think I know how much water I've lost?
She grimaces up at you, the color draining from her face.
Wards. Failing. Hurry, before it escapes.
Myru gives you a bleary look as her focus begins to slip away. Escape? What's going to escape?
Pitied Isengati, Lady of Lament, as the pearl orb of the heavens.
She wheezes as she struggles to get the words out. It doesn't sound like she's even addressing you any longer. The guildmaster's eyes glaze over, and she falls silent.
Myru? Myru?
Tekehu takes her by the shoulder and shakes gently at first, then harder. At last, he stops, pulling away and bringing his hands up to clutch his brow.
Ngati. She's dead.
Well, let's keep going. There's nothing we can do for her.
Akira, the others will see to her once we've cleaned up the last of this mess.
Tekehu regards Myru's corpse one last time before turning away. Oop, there goes her ghost. Can you talk to us some more now?
The wheel. How it tugs at me. Akira, and how bright you look.
Myru's attention snaps toward a distant speck of light, but she shakes it off to remain in the moment.
At least in death, I can complete a thought.
She grimaces down at her swiftly diminishing body.
My rod and the words of Pariki's devotion will open the way to the inner sanctum, past the sealed door.
Myru closes her eyes and concentrates.
Pitied is Ngati, Lady of Lament. As the pearl orb of the heavens crosses her view, her eyes well with tears, as constant as rain. But the moon's skyward journey continues apace, the lover's affection as ephemeral as fingers touching.
Myru opens her eyes again. She nods as her form grows indistinct.
You must strengthen the wards, no matter what it tells you.
What is that supposed to mean? Her mouth moves again, emitting no sound as she fades from sight. She raises her hand to point toward the entrance of the sanctum. She reaches to touch Takehu's cheek, but of course, her hand drifts through his skin. He shivers, touched by a passing breeze. Does he see the soul? That's probably weird. Well, gonna steal your stuff there. Oh, hope you don't mind. Oh, there's a knock
I
over
saw
there.
him first. Let's go. Take that. That's me too. Why not?
Okay. Some nice scale armor there. Alrighty. The statue depicts an Amawa woman, her hand extended and grasping at the air. An eroded plaque sits by her feet. Something about the statue calls out to you, the echo of a fractured soul that tarried in this place for long and thoughtful years. You feel victory, tinged by grief and regret. Just read the plaque. The words are much eroded and water damaged, but a few choice snippets of phrases stand out with clarity. Puriki, lord and hunter, crossed the length of and back again. Therefore, cunning deal. Lafus, may her rest. Ulyti soul. Edom. Closer scrutiny reveals that the inscription was purposefully marred, an act of sabotage done perhaps years ago. You suspect Kith hands.
This is the tomb of Periki. Such disrepair, I say.
Takehu tuts and sighs. Let's inspect that lingering soul there. Your vision bobs with the motion of the sea. You stand aboard the deck of swift winds, where your mates share bemused, self-congratulatory glances as they work. One of them claps your back with approval. Shake that off. You step back and aim a reproachful glance or look at your mate, however friendly his intent. You know there will be time for reprieve when you are squared away in Nakataka. Something cuts through the water to your port side, an enormous shape just beneath the waves. Someone shouts that the winds have turned in your favor at last. This is followed by an enthusiastic cheer among the crew. You don't share their mirth. Eyes to the horizon, I say. You bring home a mighty gift, though it takes an unusual form, one that you pray to Ngati you are able to keep in check. The vision dissipates and your legs reassert themselves. You know one thing for certain. There was no whale swimming alongside Pariki's boat. What? Hold her hand. You grasp her hand with tenderness. At first, nothing happens, and then a tiny droplet of water forms at the corner of her eye and rolls down her cheek, dripping on the floor. Just wipe that away. Reach out and draw your thumb down the statue's cheek, wiping away the trail of moisture. For a moment, the stone feels soft to the touch. That's strange. But it's not the first living statue.
It's mine now.
Oop, treasures. A black pearl. A dwarf's treasure. Bunch of loot there. Alright. Do we think that Naga have put down traps? I would hope not. Because, like, this isn't even their turf.
Good thing I saw him first.
Okay. Ziha.
Take this.
Jeez. Okay.
Sure.
There's the rod of the Deep Hunter. Looks like exit out of here, or maybe just how the Naga broke in. Okay. What was it? It was... Oh, goodness. As the pearl orb of the heavens crosses her view, her eyes well with tears as constant as rain, but the moon's skyward journey continues apace, the lover's affection as ephemeral as fingers touching. Okay. Touch the door with the rod of the Deep Hunter. The door reacts at once. A stone panel shifts aside to reveal a circular dial engraved with symbols. This would appear to be a locking mechanism requiring a precise combination. Study the symbols around the dial. Brushing aside a layer of dust reveals a circular dial of pictographs, though you could not guess their relevance or relation to each other. You recognize the symbols themselves. That looks like the pearl orb. That kind of looks like heavens. Goodness. The first is a full moon, its light beaming down on Aora. The next is a Juana symbol of Andra, classically depicted with the head of an anglerfish in her aspect as Ngati. The next is a pair of hands reaching out for each other, their fingertips just barely making contact. And the last is the rain, falling powerfully and inexorably. Does the inscription not tell me that? Alrighty. So, we want Pearl Orb of the Heavens, that's the moon. Eyes well with tears, so that's the skies raining. Moon's skyward journey, maybe not that. Crosses her view, maybe the fish. That's a fun time to level up there. Her eyes well with tears as constant as rain, so that's the rain. So fish, rain, moon, fingers touching. Okay. Manipulate the dial. We want to go counterclockwise, or no. If this rotates clockwise, that would bring up the rain first. We want the fish, so counterclockwise, right? Fish, okay. Press the dial in. And then we want the rain. Press that one in. And then the moon, press that one. And then the fingers touching. Press the dial in there. You hear the clatter of tumblers resetting behind the door, and the engravings rotate back to the moon symbol. It doesn't seem like you've unlocked things in the correct order. Okay. Alright. Maybe it starts out with the moon? Maybe the pearl orb is first, the moon, rain. So, her moon is like hers, like she controls the moon, and one time she crashed a moon into Aora, so maybe that's when we get to the fish. Pretty sure I've got 2 of them. The other 2 are kind of iffy. So let's manipulate the moon first. And then the rain. Press the dial in there. And then get to Ngati. Press the dial, and then the fingers. And that wasn't the correct order, and okay. Maybe it's more than 4 combinations. Let's try the fish, the moon, the rain, the moon. I see. There it was. And then the hands. Goodness gracious, I'm getting stuck on it being a 4. I think it was a 4 when it was a 5 combination. You hear clattering and whirring as the dial recedes into the door. There's a low rumble as the doorway opens inward, revealing a dark, narrow tunnel beyond. The air beyond the passage is humid, reeking of stagnant water and something else. Something old, which raises the hairs on the back of your neck. As you take your first step, an excuse me. The ear-splitting burp rises in volume and echoes down the passage, shaking loose the surrounding rock. You navigate the dark, narrow tunnel, pressing your shoulders together to fit the passage. Oh, it's a dragon. As the massive upheaval of water settles, the air thickens with oppressive humidity. It takes a moment for your ears to adjust before you can make sense of the shape that breached from the depths.
How in all Aora have they kept it down here?
It's a good question.
Oh, this would be a great fishing story.
That's probably what Pariki thought.
Galloway's feckin' spear. That there be a right bonny beast and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Have you come to deliver me from this prison of my own making?
The dragon flares his nostrils and glares at you. Let me get my bearings first. Who are you?
I am Skirilophus, Guardian of the Isles.
He slaps his tail against the floor.
You ever consider a nickname?
It is a bit of a name there. Skirolophus narrows his eyes at Adair.
Just give it some thought, is all I'm saying.
What is this? One of Andra's whelps?
His snout wrinkles at Takehu.
Hello.
Takehu swallows. Hot steam jets from the dragon's nostrils. Well, Tonk, say hello to Skirolophus.
At least your pet does not tarnish the dignity of this prison.
What? You mean he's just not saying anything?
You can only be here for one reason. You serve the Huana.
His eyes narrow into slits. That's right.
This prison is built on a foundation of their lies.
I have more cause to trust them than I do you, fiend.
Then you are complicit in the pillaging of the Deadfire, and we are enemies. You stand in the sanctum of the Water Shapers, those who make parlor tricks of Ngati's art.
The druids?
An art in decline. The Huana Covenant has failed. With each grain of sand surrendered to outsiders, Ngati draws her favor away from her chosen people.
Takehu, could this be true? He stares up at the dragon, oblivious to you until he blinks and returns to the moment.
I only know an interpretation of Ngati's covenant, but Akera, it is possible.
He nods slowly.
The guild hides how their acolytes struggle. Their ancestral forms no longer respond as they once did. Soon, there will be no Water Shapers to remember them. When their mighty talent went into decline, I gave the Huana the strength to raise the very sea against our enemies.
Our enemies, the Valians and Rawatayans?
For my generosity, they bound me to this chamber by my soul.
Yeah, that does sound kind of rough.
This cannot be true, I say.
The half-breed's naivete is charming. I see why you suffer his company.
That's a bit of a backhanded compliment.
And now the Deadfire dies in my absence. The luminous Adra shrieks in agony, calling out for a guardian.
Your soul is stuck here. Let me take a look.
You are a watcher. Of all the kith who could have entered this chamber, how intriguing.
Submerging in the dragon's soul feels at first disorienting, like perusing the stacks of a vast library. The energy and vibrancy that should color his soul is gray and worn from the shadows. A dark, formless thing reaches out to you in desperation. The wards around the stone floor drag the essence down and disperse its energy elsewhere to the Water Shaper students of Nekataka. As it touches you, the weight of the prison is like an anchor. You withdraw from the sensation feeling shaky and depleted. It does appear to be true.
Believe what you will. My duty to the archipelago is all that matters.
Duty?
Freedom comes like the tide, and the Deadfire heeds my call. I sense a rod among your belongings.
Skirolophagus narrows his eyes and watches you carefully.
My gift to Pariki. My covenant with the Huana. Another broken promise. It made the enchantments of this prison and can destroy them. It can set me free.
The dragon lashes its tail in eager, repetitive circles.
We have a responsibility, I say.
Trailing off, Takehu pulls absently on one of his hairs.
But if he speaks truth, the Huana are better served if he remains.
Uh-huh.
Your opinion is irrelevant, half-breed.
So letting you go does deprive the Water Shapers of a useful asset.
The Huana will struggle. If they are worthy, they will endure. Those who are wise will remember their covenant with ancient Ngati.
Mm-hmm. I have some questions about you first, Dragon.
I will tolerate your curiosity.
You think yourself as a guardian?
That is a duty as old as the islands themselves. In ages past, there were 3 guardians. They watched over the Isles, the Adra, and lost to Kaizo.
That is similar to the tenets of Ngati's covenant.
Takehu furrows his brow.
You are perceptive for a fish.
Okay, you spoke of 3 guardians, though.
Creatures of unparalleled age and power, bound, like me, to strengthen the Huana. If they still lived, no foreign ship would trespass on these islands.
Something on your mind, Takehu?
Kara, there is too much running through my head, I say.
Takehu touches his forehead spot.
For another time.
Takehu reaches up and touches his cheek with a shaking hand.
The fish is not ready to know what he only now suspects.
Something like a chuckle echoes in your mind.
Ukaizo is lost beyond all memory. Better to forget that monument of hubris.
What if we excised the imprisoned portion of your soul from the rest?
No. My soul is not for the taking. Not by you, or any of the outsider spirit thieves.
It can be done without harming you. I just need to inspect the wards. He lets out a distasteful hiss.
Very well. I give you one chance. Time has weakened the wards enough that I can leave this cell without you. There will be a debt of pain that I have no wish to incur. Betray me, and I will summon as many waves of Naga as it takes to shatter this prison.
The dragon unclenches his jaw and watches you in silence. So he is the reason why he was brought here. Okay, well, allow me to run around to this end. Pardon me, sir. I'm just gonna pass through your legs here. No worries.
Leave it to me.
A raised wardstone stands out from the watery floor of the dragon's prison. The runes engraved along its surface glow with pale light. Enchantments coursing through the stonework keep the dragon tethered to this spot and siphon energy from his soul. The spells of imprisonment look more recent. The siphoning enchantment merely sips at the dragon's essence and disperses it elsewhere. You think it could be used to store the essence, enough to last decades or longer if used responsibly. You can tell nothing else about the enchantments. The ward flashes, causing the Rod of the Deep Hunter to tremble in your pack, as if the two share some arcane affinity for each other. Try to siphon enough of the dragon's essence to empower the guild, then break the imprisoning ward. The enchantment slips through your fingers in spite of its advanced age and depleted state. Clearly, someone built this prison to resist any potential meddling. Oh no. Okay, well, he's helped the Huana before when their enemies have attacked. He might do so again. And he's also calling the Naga in. Who's to say that a second war isn't going to start between the Naga and the Huana? And who's to say Valia or Rawatai is going to take advantage of the weakened state of the Huana and, try to take a bit more than they're owed? We just want this guy freed, I think. The runes crackle as their power dissipates. In seconds, their light is extinguished, and the shapes of each arcane sigil lose definition until they fade into total obscurity.
I can feel the weight of this pit diminishing around me. Do not stop now.
Just hang on a second. I'm getting
The
to it,
next ward. Make haste.
He's really eager to get out of here, isn't he?
Sure.
We disable the enchantment on this one. And all the way down. Don't mind me just stepping over your tail here. Disable that one. And then last one.
Leave it to me.
That's all of them. Skirolophus blinks down at you and rolls his shoulders as if for the first time.
The burden of this prison is lifted. I will return to the beloved Atra.
Skirolophus flexes his claws and lets out an exultant bellow. Will you consider showing mercy against those who wronged you?
Mercy. Only for those who showed mercy to me. The rest.
He splits his jaws into a lethal grin.
Should your hopes darken on the high seas, you will feel a welcome chill as my shadow passes over your deck. Depend on it.
Roaring with triumph, Skirolophus aims his body at the rocky ceiling and takes off. Skirolophus beats his wings, lifting his massive form above the ground of his watery prison. He stretches open his jaws and roars, the ensuing blast blowing out the top of his prison, exposing it to the sky above. For the first time in untold years, natural light floods the interior of the chamber. He snaps his wings a second time, flying through the exit with wild abandon, tilting at reckless, unpracticed angles as he builds incredible speed. When he emerges, shrieks of horror and dismay grow in volume. Moments later, as he passes out of view, you hear an explosion of splintered wood, upheaved water, and incredible devastation on the southwestern corner of the island. Well, that's not great and fun for everyone involved. Now that that's all done with, we could do some leveling up real quick.
Captain, a word.
Takehu inclines his head and touches his forehead spot. What's on your mind?
When I joined the guild, I was a fish in a dream.
Takehu looks at the ground between his feet.
Water Shapers were the keepers of our oldest covenant, protectors of history. Heroes, I say. Now I see the guild only for what it has become. Ikera, a perversion of the oldest Juana art.
The guild should have trusted in the strength of its water shapers.
Ikera, no matter how many warships sailed against us, the Juana should have relied on each other first. I do not want to tarry in this house of regret a moment longer. My thoughts will be clearer in time. You are kind to listen, I say.
Or let us be off. Let us see if we can maybe fix things, salvage it. Gotta say, hopefully that dragon isn't tearing up the city right now.
Onikaza will want your report, I say.
Yeah.
He should have known we could not keep a dragon forever.
Yeah, I think we do want to report to Onikaza. This one isn't stealing. The 4 forms of water shaping. Ooh. What follows is an intricate initiate's primer in the 4 forms of water shaping, which comprise the basic lessons of our guild: grief, hope, metamorphosis, and transcendence. The form of grief, acceptance that one's physicality is not as mutable as water. The form of hope, understanding that water is more relentless and inexorable than any natural force. The form of metamorphosis, realization that the body's internal water can help to mediate the prior forms. The form of transcendence. Water covers Aora. If water can be shaped, so can the world. And here we got Daraku's reply. Myru, what did you send me away to meditate on the 4th form in uncharted waters only to summon me back to the Kahanga fleet? A bomb must have gone off in Serpent's Crown. One of revelation, if not black powder. The interruption is a setback. I trust that whatever happens next will propel our people forward. I will sail Periki's resolve into the waters where I suspect you need me most, and await your orders. I hope that the rumors carried upon the waves are to be trusted. I would tell you to send Onikaza my love, but she knows that it is hers. Tell her that she needs only snap her fingers, and I will be her storm again. A master water shaper. Sounds like somebody we may want to go find. Maybe they can set the guild aright. But to Queen Onikaza.
I already have one guest in my head. I don't need another.
Sorry, lad. Thought that chip on your shoulder were for all to see.
Do you ever have a thought and just decide to keep it to yourself?
More than you know, my dearing mate. More than you know.
He just can't help himself, it seems. To the rooftop. Alrighty, Onikaza.
What madness has its clutches around Periki's overlook? The mountain shakes, bellows of anguish echo over the wind.
Onikaza raises a trembling hand to her brow.
And a shadow rose from the streets to cover Queen's birth on its way to the sea.
Yep.
Now the traders look to me for answers I do not have.
Onikaza pounds her armrest with her fist.
Nothing but panic and contradiction make their way to my ears. Tell me what happened.
Naga invaded the guild to rescue an ancient sea dragon.
You do not jest.
The queen blinks and slowly rises to sit straight in her throne.
About many things, Highness. Not this, I say.
Takehu folds his arms and closes his eyes. Something about the gesture causes Onikaza to hold her attention on him. He's got some sway.
For what did the guild endanger my city with this creature? I will hear Myru's report.
Onikaza searches over your shoulder. Guildmaster Myru is dead.
No, to lose a teacher of Myru's skill while Rawatai points their cannons at us?
Onikaza raises her hand to her mouth.
Tekehu, my sympathies. I know yours was a turbulent apprenticeship.
Akera, the guild, they fought bravely, Highness.
Takehu nods, his lips pressed in a hard line.
Send every bird from my master water shapers. Tell them to cleave the ocean in half if they must. They will come to Nekataka now.
A pair of attendants bolt to attention and scramble down the stairs. Onikaza nurses her brow and sighs.
I once told Myru she was not allowed to retire while Rawatai's fleet darkened my ports. Nagati is not done testing me, I say.
Skirolophus agreed to lend the Water Shapers his strength to protect the archipelago.
Kahanga legends tell us that our ancestors made compacts with the creatures of the Deadfire.
Onikaza cuts herself off and snaps her fingers to an attendant.
Send for Ranga Hauhua of the Wapua tribe. If she could soften the hearts of my cats, I say dragons are not beyond her.
As her attendants make for the exit, Onikaza leans back on her throne and considers. How many attendants does she have? She's already sent off 3.
Akera, but I cannot believe... Highness, would you trap another of Ngati's ancient pets?
Uh-oh.
I would go any distance to protect my people. Can Nagati's chosen say the same?
Onikaza turns back to you, leaving Takehu to pull on his hair and frown.
Speak on, Watcher. As surely as a tide swelling over the shore, I feel you are not finished.
The forms of water shaping are fabrications made to tap into the dragon's prison, its soul.
Then Pariki's students had an advantage in their lessons, I say. And Myru's after her. All at the cost of this beast's freedom.
Onikaza raises her brow.
If water shaping is not as our ancestors taught it, we cannot reckon how much of the original form we have lost.
A sinking feeling accompanies her thoughts, as if Onikaza feels a vast well of uncertainty opening up beneath her. She's really open-minded for a cipher.
What became of the dragon, Watcher? If the power of this beast strengthened our guild...
Onikaza leans forward. I set him free. Nothing in Onikaza's outward bearing changes, but the silence of the rooftop garden feels especially oppressive. Then you notice the scratching sound of her nails in the armrest of her chair, and her tigers glance up at you with sudden attentiveness.
No, no, I say. Nagati close her teeth around your boat and Wodika scrawl your name in her log of disgrace.
It is a poor ruler who doesn't recognize what is under her feet, Onikaza.
How dare you?
She sits back on her throne to the gasps of her attendants, all of whom give up any pretense of ignoring your exchange.
If my apprentices struggle to learn Nagati's art, then we have no hope of replenishing the ranks. And I do not have the luxury of patience. I cannot keep Rawatai in check if they do not recognize our strength. The guild can outlast this, but our enemies will test us beyond what we can endure.
I didn't set out to damage the Huana cause, Highness.
Then you are nothing but a fish puppet Ngati sent to trick us with cheap lures of hope. Even in desperate times, this falls beneath the expectations of the Kahanga crown. You may see yourself out.
Farewell, Highness. I wish I could have done more for the Huana. She winces. An expectant murmur grows among the onlookers of the rooftop garden.
Wait. Water Shapers have kept this city in the hands of the Kahanga. A queen cannot do this alone.
She looks up at you, a deep furrow cleaving her brow.
You may work off your debt to the crown. I will swallow my pride if it keeps an ally under my roof.
The tension in the garden begins to ebb with the softening of Onikaza's tone. Thank you for the second chance, Highness.
Thank the goddess. pray that she finds you worthy of service. My water-shaping masters will arrive soon, and I say the guild will be stronger for their guidance. But a queen's work is not finished until she has endured all of Nagati's trials. I could send birds to every Ranga and rally them to our cause, but Neketaka needs more than strength. We need pure Juana fury. We need the Wahaki.
The Wahaki.
My brother calls the Wahaki the last true Juana. He's severe on the Kahanga, but I do not call him wrong.
Onikaza thumbs her chin and nods.
The tribe hates all foreigners. Passing ships are attacked on sight, and explorers never make it back to the beach.
Yeah, sounds a bit like home.
I have hesitated to let the trading companies see my teeth, but those days are behind us. Filling the seas with Wahaki war canoes will strike terror in the heart of even Rawatai's Iron Fleet.
Onikaza smirks at the idea. I'll make contact with the Wahaki and hope for the best.
Sail for the Isle of Oriokoiki and return when you have an answer from the tribe, whether fair or foul. The island lies northwest of Neketaka.
Okay.
There is a phrase which will protect my royal herald. Over crumbling mountains, across blighted seas. If you remember this, it could save your life.
Onikaza dismisses you with a nod. Over crumbling mountains, across blighted seas. I'll remember that.
Write it down if you must, but recall it when the time comes. The Wahaki are not a trusting people.
Onikaza nods and dismisses you with a wave. Well, Takehu has some things he wants to say.
I thought Aethys was too busy kicking over islands to blunt his teeth with mortals.
Takehu scrutinizes you with an unreadable expression.
What say? You must take something from all this idle chatter with the gods.
Aethys was more curious about me than I was about him.
And you knew things he did not. Ah.
Takehu bites his thumbnail.
For what does he listen to you, then? The gods I know are tight of lip and hard of hearing.
He's searching his feelings and needed a mortal perspective, it seemed.
I could not imagine the inner workings of a god.
He trails off, looking away.
But then, I am not meant to. It is for mortals to flail in the darkness, I say, while gods point us toward light.
Better that they let us figure it out for ourselves. As he weighs your words, Takehu winces a little.
To be worshipped, to have others interpret your design.
Takehu sighs, pulling back his hair.
It is not fair, I say. For what should a god worry about such cares, when theirs is the hand on the tiller?
Maybe they worry because their hand is on the tiller.
Then maybe they did not always doubt themselves. At some time, they felt certain.
Takehu nods to himself and bites his lower lip.
The gods grow. They are like the Adra, holding Aora in place, I say, moving too slow for mortal eyes. At least Aethys has you to keep him in check. What happens when we catch up to him is something for future Takehu to worry about.
He smiles wanly. The world around you darkens. Once again, you feel an insistent tug for your attention, the pull centering from Takehu's soul. We'll surrender to it, allow it to take over. You stand in a grand hall, underwater and cloaked in oppressive shadows. Pillars of coral and bone reach up to support a ceiling that must be hundreds of fathoms away. Chandeliers lit with bioluminescent globes dangle from long ropes swaying in languid, tentacular motions. At the farthest end of the hall sits Andra, as tall as a castle keep and leaning forward in her throne. She has adopted the head of an anglerfish and regards you with its globular stare. Her sickle-shaped jaw opens and closes in a rictus of conflicted emotions.
Scratch under the wet clay of any artist and you hatch a lifetime of fear and doubt.
Andra props her chin on her fist and studies Takehu with a sigh.
My boy doesn't fear the gods. He only fears what he'll compromise by living up to his potential. But isn't it easier to let sculptures represent you? Poor thing. Nothing he does could disappoint me. But that is a mother's prerogative.
She pulls away with a wet slapping sound. You receive the mental impression of a wink. The world reasserts itself all around you. Takehu wears an uncertain smile, tipping his head inquisitively. Oh, well, let's be off. No, don't worry about that. That'll happen from time to time. I just sort of go blank-headed and talk to gods and spirits and stuff. Goodness gracious, look at that time. And there you have a fun episode of Pillars of Eternity. Oh man, we're rolling in from like a second episode ago. I'll try to keep it like this. We went to the Water Shapers Guild and fixed the issues going on there. Stopped a Naga invasion, and the Naga were being called by the dragon, I suppose. I suppose like all of Ngati's or Andra's creatures have a certain bond to one another, and we've learned of the weaknesses of the Water Shapers. While they may have been powerful druids once, they've lost much of that power and owe it to a water dragon. And so we must grow once again. Strength and growth come only through continuous effort and struggle. This is Master Barkle from Brighthelm Recording, signing off.
Skirolofus Barkle here to tell you, I demand you leave a like and a comment on this video to help support the Watcher, for he helped free me from this soul prison.